The statistics are brutal. The average 53-year-old American man has just $87,000 saved for retirement, not $870,000, 87,000. Even worse, the median tells us that half the men his age have accumulated even less than that. But here is the bizarre twist. This same man is likely pulling in the highest income of his entire career right now. He owns a house, goes on nice vacations, and sends his kids to solid schools. He genuinely believes he is doing perfectly fine. And that is the exact trap. Not being completely broke, but looking visually successful, while a massive financial black hole deepens in the background of a life that looks great on Instagram. In this video, I am going to expose 4 financial traps that quietly decimate the futures of men in their 50s. And no, it is not because they were reckless or irresponsible, but paradoxically, because they were successful. The very decade that is supposed to be your financial peak, the one where all your hard work finally compounds into total freedom, is actually the most dangerous 10 years of your financial life. I am going to show you the exact data explaining why. Quick disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not personal financial advice. I am just someone who has spent far too much time digging through actuarial tables and 401k performance statements. Here is the specific visual I want you to hold on to throughout this entire video. A golden anchor. Do not think of it as just a metaphor. Picture an actual massive iron ship's anchor, except this one is gleaming, heavy gold. Your high mortgage is a golden anchor. Your luxury car lease is a golden anchor. Your country club membership, your private school tuition contract, and your professional status. Every single one of these is a golden anchor you personally dropped over the side of your ship. Anchors are designed to create stability, and they do a great job, right until the storm hits. When the stock market drops 30% the exact year you plan to step away, or when your executive job suddenly vanishes, that anchor will not protect you. It locks you in place while the tide rises, pulling you underwater faster than anything else could. The men who enter retirement with genuine options are the ones who quietly cut those chains, while everyone else was still busy polishing their gold. Somewhere around age 46 or 47, a subtle psychological shift occurs. You stop focusing on what you can actively build and start worrying about what you need to protect. That feels like the responsible adult thing to do. But when you apply that logic to the wrong assets, it becomes one of the most expensive psychological errors a man can make. Because you are not actually protecting your wealth, you are protecting the illusion of wealth. And that illusion charges a massive monthly rent. By the time they hit their 50s, most men have spent 25 straight years saying yes to individual choices that seemed perfectly reasonable at the time. The bigger house, the second vehicle, the vacation home, the private school. Every single choice passed one simple test. Can we handle the monthly payment? But that is an anemic cash flow question, not a wealth-building question. That is exactly how you end up burning $3,000 a month on depreciating car payments instead of stacking $3,000 a month in retirement assets. Take a look at Richard. He is 51, working as a regional sales director, making $190,000 a year. Richard is locked into a $4,200 mortgage, a $750 BMW lease, a boat that drains $700 a month, a $450 country club fee, and 2 kids in private school costing $22,000 a year each. Before Richard buys a single bag of groceries or turns on the lights, he is already legally committed to $12,500 a month in fixed overhead. After taxes, his actual take-home pay is roughly $10,600. He is structurally spending more than he takes home on locked-in obligations before making a single optional purchase. Richard's core issue was never his income. He makes plenty. The issue is that his burn rate expanded faster than his savings rate for 15 consecutive years. His income doubled, but his actual net worth stalled. A 2024 APA study highlighted this exact reality, showing that individuals making over $200,000 report virtually identical levels of financial anxiety as those making $75,000. Look at the literal opportunity cost. If you take just $800 a month, the cost of one single avoidable luxury obligation, starting at age 40, and redirect it into a low-cost index fund averaging a 7% return, that single move compounds into $472,000 by age 65. You did not have to work harder or invest more. You just chose not to buy one single anchor. So here is a vital question to consider. What if the real danger isn't just how much you have saved, but how vulnerable that money is if your timing goes wrong? There is a brutal financial mechanism known as sequence of returns risk, and it is one of the most destructive forces a person in their 50s can encounter. Imagine you are 58 with $450,000 in your 401k, planning to retire at 63. If the market gives you a smooth 7% annual average, you finish with about $630,000. But if the market crashes 35% in your very first year of retirement before recovering later, you are forced to withdraw your 4% living expenses while your portfolio is bleeding out, permanently locking in those losses. Your nest egg goes completely bone dry by year 14, instead of lasting 25 years. This is not a theoretical scenario. Back in 2008, retirement portfolios suffered a median loss of 38%. People who chose to retire in 2007 or 2008 watched their entire life savings get cut clean in half at the exact moment they needed to rely on them most. Now meet Gary, 54 years old and highly successful by conventional standards. Gary has $600,000 managed by a firm charging a 1.2% advisory fee. Compounded over 15 years against a basic index fund charging just 3 basis points, that fee gap quietly steals roughly $182,000 from Gary's future. Worse yet, Gary's advisor has never mentioned a strategic Roth conversion, which could easily save him anywhere from $60,000 to $90,000 in future taxes. On top of that, 3 major financial storms typically hit men in their 50s all at once. The first is aging parents. The average man begins financially supporting a parent at age 52. Gary's mother suddenly required specialized memory care costing $6,200 a month. She only had $85,000 saved, meaning Gary now has to cover a $3,000 monthly deficit out of pocket. The second storm is adult children. Sending a kid to a 4-year private university now averages around $62,000 a year, running a staggering $248,000 for a single child. The third storm is late-stage divorce. The rate of gray divorce has doubled since the 1990s, and the statistical net worth loss for men averages about 77% in a single legal proceeding, hitting them right during peak emotional upheaval. And as it turns out, Gary is currently separated. So paint a mental picture of Gary at 54. High advisory fees are actively compounding against him. His sequence risk is completely unmodeled. He is burning $3,000 a month for his mother's care. He has a kid entering college, and a pending divorce is about to split whatever is left down the middle. Traditional wealth advisors are rarely willing to say plainly, your lifestyle burn rate is totally unsustainable. Your management fees are destroying your compounding machine, and your portfolio has zero protection against a market drop. That conversation simply does not fit into a neat quarterly review. By age 50, most men have constructed a rigid professional identity that carries immense social weight, and maintaining social weight is one of the most expensive hobbies you will ever fund. Look at two men who graduated from the exact same business school back in 2001. Paul chose to maintain a massive prestige footprint, the perfect zip code, the premium SUV, private school, and elite country club access. At age 52, his liquid net worth was stuck at a mere $115,000, artificially kept afloat by constant home equity lines of credit to cover a deficit he refused to admit. Marcus, on the other hand, made highly intentional, quiet choices. He drove a reliable used car he owned outright and maxed out his 401k starting at age 38. By age 52, Marcus was sitting on $1.2 million in total assets, with a liquid net worth of roughly $950,000. Same career income, same 20 years. One man paid cash to buy temporary approval. The other used his cash to buy permanent options. Paul knows exactly where he went wrong. He just could not bring himself to stop the bleeding while it was happening, because every single upgrade felt reasonable in isolation. Here is the math that makes this undeniable. Picture two men, both 50, both pulling in an identical $180,000 salary. Man A has structured $11,000 in monthly fixed obligations against a net take-home pay of $9,800, a permanent structural deficit. Man B maintains a lean $6,000 monthly burn rate, allowing him to aggressively save $3,800 every month. Over a 15-year timeline at a standard 7% return, Man A accumulates a modest $140,000. Man B accumulates roughly $1.14 million. Exact same income, exact same market conditions, but 8 times the wealth. The only variable that mattered was the baseline burn rate. Gary finalized his divorce paperwork 8 months ago, watching his portfolio plummet from $600,000 down to $290,000 at age 55. But instead of panicking, he took massive action. He moved into a modest, smaller apartment, ruthlessly slashed his fixed monthly obligations from $9,500 down to $4,100, shifted his assets into a simple 3-fund Vanguard portfolio, and initiated strategic Roth conversions. He will not be stepping away at 62 like he hoped. He will likely work until 68, but he is not going under. He finally cut the golden anchor loose. It was deeply painful, but he did it anyway. Here is your direct operational playbook. Calculate your exact fixed burn rate today. If your mandatory overhead exceeds 60% of your net take-home income, you do not have a discipline problem. You have a structural lifestyle design problem. Second, stress test your retirement numbers against an immediate market drop, not a predictable, straight-line average. Finally, audit every single fee you pay. If your total cost of investing scales past 30 basis points, you are actively overpaying. The men who cross the finish line at age 60 with true financial freedom are never the ones who simply earned the most. They are the ones who measured their burn rate, located their anchors, and cut the chains before the tide came rushing in.